We are going.
Ellen, do you want to try sharing your screen?
Yeah, I can. I just popped on it and it didn't show what I was hoping it would show.
I see, Ellen, that it looks like you just have audio and like there's not video showing.
I don't have a camera on my Surface.
Oh, okay.
So let's see what happens if I do this.
You don't have a camera on your Surface?
No, it hasn't never been enabled. Whoever set it up when I got it from IT, so it totally screwed the whole thing up. Huh. So you guys go on with what you're doing. I need to figure something out here.
All right.
Okay. It looks like you're off to the races, Jill.
Well,
Leslie, are you set to start the e-scribe or do you need me to hang around for that?
I think I'm good with that. Thank you. I'm in the incognito mode still.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I did.
I never think about that because I'm here on Safari at home. I don't have to do that. So, all right.
Marty,
And here's time. Yes.
where are the numbers? I thought they were on the desktop for the public call-in.
Open up,
Are you still there? Hello?
Marty.
Testing.
This is not starting off well.
Where'd she go?
I don't know. Maybe her dog ran away.
What happened? We lost you.
My computer just restarted for no reason.
Okay.
It restarted because of a problem. So you wanted to know what? The phone numbers.
So I'm on the desktop of the presenter laptop and it's the citizen call-in guide, which, had is what you created with the logos. But we used to have one that just had the numbers. Has this been replaced? Is that the one you want us to use now?
Open up. Oh, no, nothing has changed since you did it the last time. So if you open up PowerPoint and probably look for recent, you might find it there.
Webinar, city council and council committees, board meeting slides. Okay, here it is. I don't know why we don't still.
That's it.
Why don't we make this a shortcut on the desktop so people can just, I don't know.
Because every time you shut down that laptop, IT has it set up to wipe everything that's on the desktop, Jill.
Right.
So if I did that, it would never be there.
Your council stuff's there. But maybe it just hasn't been wiped since.
It hasn't been shut down or something.
Yeah.
I can't rely on it. I can't rely
Oh
on
yeah,
it.
I understand. Slideshow. There's only one slide, so from
What does
there.
that with peanut butter? What's wrong with you? Why don't you like peanut butter?
Ellen, can you still hear me?
Please?
Yes.
Okay, because now I'm in a completely different screen and I was wondering. So just so I'm still clear, Marty, whenever I show these public numbers, I need to share my screen first because that was what back in, I think, May is what I forgot to do. What?
Yeah, you have to share your screen and the call.
Right, so now I'm gonna go tab and go back here.
You also have the numbers on your agenda. So if you showed your agenda, you'd also have them there. You're coming back live.
Hi. What's this? Hide video, mute my audio. It looks like Zoom's working, so I think I'm gonna reduce this. Because there's a little bit of a delay. And again, the only screen that MCAT's going to scrape from is the laptop, not the second monitor, correct? I want to make sure I have the right things on the right screen.
If that's the case, just shut off that second monitor, but
I think
generally they haven't had a problem with that. They've just pulled it off the laptop screen.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just have the participants list over on the second monitor, I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
And then I'll just make sure that I'm showing the call-in numbers. Now, is this updated with the call-in numbers? You got those emails between me and you and Kirsten about the phone numbers on our link not matching?
I did not update those.
Okay, well, another day,
Another day.
another day. Okay. Thank you, Marty.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
So let me try to share screen
Okay,
and see what happens. Ha-ha. Is it on there?
not yet.
Oh, it's on mine.
It might be coming. Hold on. You tapped share screen on the bottom?
I did, and then it comes up with a whole bunch of different screens. And so what I did, I just put the link over on the Surface itself because my screen for Zoom is on one of my monitors. And maybe that doesn't work because it came up on here. So let me close that. Sure, let's try this.
It has to,
If I do that, it doesn't show up on the screen.
whatever you're sharing, you have to be in Zoom on your Surface, and then whatever you're sharing has to be on your Surface.
Well, it's on the Surface, but it's, Jesus Christ. Share screen.
Do you want me to come back?
Yeah, you might want to.
Are you letting people in from over here?
Yep.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Ellen.
We're trying to teach Ellen how to share screen again.
I don't know. I just hit the button that says share screen.
All right, I do that. So if I do that, then I get all of these options.
So Alt Tab, which one do you want?
I don't want any of those.
Well, you don't have your document open?
I have it right here.
Leslie.
And it's also
Hey Nancy,
on
I
the,
can't see you.
Can you open?
yeah.
I have my screen on. Oh, I get it.
Let me see.
It looks like maybe it's filming your ceiling or something. There you are.
I get it.
Okay, there it goes. How are you?
Good.
Good.
You can drag this
And you?
over to your Surface.
Annette, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh. Hi, Chris. You must be on mute.
Okay, there's Annette. Chris, you're both muted.
Okay, now what?
Mute, so.
Should learn how to read lips better.
That just took me out.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Ellen, I can see your screen. It's a calendar right now.
Who did that?
It's a mystery.
Now what do you see?
Her calendar.
Calendar and a sidebar with,
Are you?
You want to sit down here?
Yeah.
I've got to have the screwiest computer in the city system.
Do you need your calendar?
No,
Why can you see all this stuff if you're not in Nestle Home?
because
Hi, Jason, can you hear me?
it's all on Surface right now.
Yes, I can. I'm just fiddling with my camera. Can you hear me?
Okay.
SD Home is Vince with leftover sound.
Thanks, Jill.
Let's see.
And if you minimize this, I've got that saved on here on the Surface on the screen, same as I do on the little screen. But it doesn't give me that option. Why don't you just put it up for the sake of me?
Hi, Jenny, can you hear me?
Leslie, do you see anything from Ellen right now?
Now I can see your map. It's
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Jenny. Yes, I can see your map, Ellen.
Great. So what do?
Well-
I can't just leave it up there.
Well, yeah, just
How do I go back?
stop share.
Okay.
Okay,
And then
there's
when
Jenny.
you want to share it, you're going to say share screen.
Okay.
And then you're going to,
Oh, it's up there now, so I click
yeah,
on it.
so just then leave it.
Okay.
I'm wondering why this little thing comes up here.
I don't know, because that's the number 3 computer. These are the.
I know, but
I don't know.
I'm wondering why it, So then you'd hit
I'm
share.
just gonna click on that.
well, I wouldn't because it's right there already. So it's already highlighted, I think.
Can you see the map right now, Leslie?
No, because it's not shared.
No,
Oh, okay.
So then you'd hit share. And then do you see the
your wallpaper?
Alt tab? Why is this?
There you go.
I don't know why it doesn't. Stop share. So, okay. So
So when I get ready to do that, what do I do?
Share
and then
screen.
Click on,
and it's screen 2,
right?
which is what you want.
Mhm.
So then you should be able to just hit share. You see in the map?
Yep, it's working.
Great. And to go away,
Then you
you just stop share.
Start shares right here.
All right. I hope it's not this complicated for everybody.
Yeah.
All
Your
right.
computer's
My
jacked.
computer's just a mess.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm gonna have to turn my computer into IT and let them wipe it and start
Yeah,
over.
no, you can't touch anything.
I know, I can't, I've got to sit on my hands and just talk.
You hopefully have a hard copy of your memo or whatever.
Can I share my screen for a second and see how it looks?
Yep.
If you boot me off, you're suspended for 2 weeks.
All I'm gonna do is hit the green button here.
With or without pay, Ellen?
Oh, with pay, but that's, so go for it.
Do you
That's
have
a
it?
punishment.
Not yet, Todd, no.
Nothing?
Nope.
What's going on? Worked last time.
You've got the Ellen jinx.
I think so. What's different this time? Oh, here we go. Maybe it's this.
Hi, Spider.
Share.
Hey, Spider. Hey, Jason.
There
you
it works,
go.
Todd.
Got it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really small, but
Well, but it's gonna be, unless I zoom in. Can I zoom in live on that? Then I can, okay. So if I
Yeah.
want, I can zoom in and
yep.
do things. Okay, good. Give me a second here to stop. There we go.
How are things in Miami, Jason?
Windy. We've got a tropical storm turning into a hurricane about 500 miles from here. So
Yeah.
Ew.
Yep.
One of my dear friends lives basically in downtown New Orleans, and she's trying to figure out how to cover up her second story windows right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna see a lot of rain, and that's not a good thing in New Orleans. I hope the best for her. I got friends in New Orleans too. Yeah,
Pretty scary with both of those storms.
it is.
Then you got friends in Colorado, and they're all evacuated, and then friends in California, and they're evacuated. So it's just lovely.
We were in Colorado last week and it was smoky.
Yep.
In fact, do we have fires? Is it smoky at home?
Yes, but it's California smoke mostly.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
Well,
California's going to smoke up the whole country, it looks like.
it's a little smoky up here at the lake today. It's been clear the last 2 days, but it's pretty hazy.
It's not awful here, but
Moon was
it
orange.
real
last-
hazy last night. Blew out Saturday and blew back in yesterday.
Yeah, orange moon. It was kind of pretty.
Oh, I've seen some shots over Denver looking up toward Grand Junction that are absolutely gorgeous if you like Armageddon.
Right. Yeah, we were expecting Mad Max to come around the corner at any time.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Mel.
Hi.
Morning, Mel.
Hi, friends.
I mean, we didn't notify him. We didn't notify him. Ron, is that you? Oh, hi, I'm Jill. What's your name? Scott, nice to meet you. Okay, Marty. All right, thanks, bye.
Hey, Spider, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Glad you're safe and healthy.
We are. It's everything's going fine. Today's the first day of school, so
Wow.
and we're doing it all virtual, so it stays nuts. But the family is safe and healthy. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was worried about you down in Miami.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of first day of school, there are nationwide outages of Zoom. So if we disappear,
Oh, nice.
blame it on the kids.
That's right.
And evidently our IT department has confirmed that that is not urban legend. It's true. And not too surprising.
So Ellen, this is Nancy. If we do disappear, should we just cancel the rest of the meeting instead of waiting around and seeing what's going to happen?
Ask Jill. I don't know.
Jill?
I don't know. I don't think we got any further direction other than, in fact, there are some nationwide outages of Zoom. I think Leslie was the first one to know that because her sister's kids experienced it in Iowa.
I mean, I would say maybe, try to get back in
hang
once.
off for a while.
We can't get back in within a certain period of time, then I would just say we'll have to postpone it and reconvene.
Why don't we give it 15 minutes and be done?
Yeah,
Okay.
if that.
I mean, we got to set a threshold somewhere, right? Nancy,
Right.
you're chairing this meeting. Your call.
Okay.
5 minutes?
That's what I was thinking.
You're right.
I don't know. I'm right there with you, kiddo.
I was going max 10.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to share my screen just to see if this is working. So bear with me. Let me know if you can see the agenda in a moment here.
So while you're doing that, maybe Nancy, you make an announcement at the beginning of the meeting that there could be technical difficulties, and if we get booted, here's how long, here's our tolerance.
Okay.
So your call.
All right, what are we seeing now? The public comment numbers?
No, we're seeing the agenda. I see the agenda.
It has the phone numbers on it, yes.
On it. Yes.
What do you see now?
The agenda with phone numbers and agenda.
Okay. And see if I can get this. You see my budget memo?
Yep.
Okay. And are these, now are you seeing just the public comment info?
Nope.
Nope.
Just budget.
Mhm. Interesting. How about now?
Nope, your memo.
Well, I'm not quite sure here. How about now?
Now we have it, the phone numbers.
Okay, so it might just take me a little tabbing through, but I think we can get to both. So just wanted to test that.
Okay.
I have Rob Pietkowski. Yes. Admit?
Yes, he's with Dover Coal.
Thank you.
So is MCAT ready?
Yeah, I think so. Get Sam. Okay, so we should have Dale in. I think that was everybody that was invited. I do have a phone number here, 207-1964. Anybody recognize that number? We'll assume it's public comment.
Okay, we're ready to start.
Yep.
Leslie, are you ready?
Leslie, are you ready? I think she's on.
I am ready. Thank you.
All right. Welcome to the meeting of the Missoula Redevelopment Agency. I am Nancy Moe, Vice Chair of the MRA, and I will chair this meeting. Members of the MRA are attending from remote locations. We are holding this meeting virtually, so we'll take public comment via a live call-in phone line. I ask our meeting host to share our public comment call-in information now. Jill, if you can. And in a few minutes, I will ask for initial public comment. When you call, you will be in a virtual waiting room until your turn to comment. We will take calls in the order received. Because this works like a live call-in show, please mute your TV or computer when you join the meeting or there will be an echo. I will observe a speaking limit of 3 minutes so that we can hear from everyone. Nationally, there have been problems of Zoom blackouts, and if that occurs for this meeting, we will allow a 10-minute period to see if the meeting can be reinstated. Otherwise, the balance of the meeting will be canceled. To start the meeting, I call to order the regular meeting of the Missoula Redevelopment Agency on August 24, 2020 for a virtual Zoom meeting at 12 p.m. Members of the MRA board, please identify yourselves.
Melanie Brock, board.
Tasha Jones, board.
Thank you. And will other participants please identify yourselves and who you represent?
Ellen Buchanan, MRA staff.
Chris Bean, MRA staff.
Annette Marcius, MRA staff.
Ginny Merriam, Communications Director, staff at the city.
Dale Bickle, the city's Chief Administrative Officer.
Todd Gass, MRA staff.
Jill Dunn, MRA staff.
Leslie Pugh, MRA staff.
Spider.
Spider McKnight, Six Pony Hitch.
Jason.
Jason King, Dover Coleman Partners.
Rob.
Rob Piatkowski, Dover Coleman Partners.
I think that's it.
All right, I think that's everybody. So we've done 2 items on our agenda, the call to order and the introductions. The next item is approval of the minutes of July 20th, 2020, which was a regular board meeting. Are there comments from board members? Is there a motion regarding the approval of the minutes?
I'll move to approve the board meeting minutes. This is Tasha.
And I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes. I don't know that we need public comment on this, so I'll just call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda are public comments and announcements. Since this is time for public comment on items that are not on the agenda, the phone lines are open and will allow people to get to their phones and make a call. The meeting host will put the call-in numbers on the screen. Oh, they are up. And we'll answer the calls in the order received. The meeting moderator will let you know when you've joined the meeting. Please tell us your name, address, and make your comments. I'll be observing, again, a speaking limit of 3 minutes.
Nancy,
Yes.
I have one member in the waiting room.
Okay.
Last 4 digits of the phone number are 1964. I will admit now.
All right.
Hi, caller, with last 4 digits 1964. Please state your name and address for the record and make a public comment. Last 4 digits 1964. Please state your name and address for the record and make a public comment.
Hey, Jill, that's me, David Erickson at the Missoula newspaper.
Jim, that's me, David Erickson, at the Missoula newspaper.
Okay, so that phone number was identified as David Erickson at the Missoulian. I'm thinking that David does not have comments, public comments. If he does, he could make his comments now. Are there any other comments or announcements? Seeing or hearing none. Let's move to the action items. The first action item is the MRA communication plan. And Ginny, are you here to comment on that too after Ellen makes her initial presentation?
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay, Ellen, would you start, please?
Sure. And I'm going to be really brief in the event that we do get booted as a result of the Zoom issues going on across the country right now. And also Spider McKnight is here with Six Pony Hitch, and I think she'll may have some comments and will certainly be available to answer questions. As we've discussed in the past, there's a lot of misunderstanding in the community with respect to what the MRA does, how we do it, what tax increment financing is, how it can and should be used, how it is used in Missoula. And for some time, we've talked about the need to create basically a communications plan for the agency. As you're aware, the last board meeting, we made the board aware that the city communications office had put out a request for qualifications to create a pool of firms that have various skill sets in the world of communications, so that various city departments, and MRA is not the only department that could stand some assistance in terms of creating communication tools, so that the various city departments could pick and choose firms which had the skill sets that best suited their particular needs without going through multiple requests for qualifications or requests for proposals, something we've done with engineering firms, architectural firms, and other disciplines that we use on a fairly regular basis as city departments. At the last board meeting in July, I asked that you direct staff to look at the 10 firms that had been shortlisted and had been chosen to be that pool that the city can access, or the city departments can access, and narrow down the firm that best suited what we believe our needs to be, and bring a scope of services and a proposal back to the board at a subsequent meeting. And that's what we're doing today. We looked at all of the firms. We looked at the strengths that they bring and the skill sets that they bring, and believe that Six Pony Hitch, number one, has the skill sets that we need as the redevelopment agency. And also that Six Pony Hitch is a firm that, particularly Spider, is very familiar with what MRA does, kind of our history. We worked together a fair amount on the downtown master plan and on other projects that involve how TIF and the MRA might play a role in implementation of these plans. So the learning curve is pretty shallow in terms of what this agency would have to do to hit the ground running, if you will. So we have a scope of services that I generally outlined in the memo, which result in a communications plan, which would also include strategies for how to best utilize our website and social media, which we're not particularly strong at this point. I mean, our website has a whole lot of information on it, but it's not necessarily as digestible as it could be given some other skill sets brought to the table. And as I pointed out last month, we do a lot of things really, really well as a staff, but we're technical writers, we're technical communicators, we are project managers, we get complicated projects done. but we're not necessarily the ultimate communicators. So we have a proposal from Spider and her group at Six Pony Hitch. Um, it's it what it does, as I said, is it creates a communication plan for the agency. It may well point up the need for additional pieces that are not included in this scope of services. If we wanted some additional graphics done, if we needed some videos done, if we needed some animations that might go on the website and this sort of thing. And if that's the case, then those would come back to the board for approval on a case-by-case basis or as a second package. The proposal that we have in front of us is for $46,500. Staff is requesting that the board approve the staff recommendation and basically agree to award a contract not to exceed that amount. And with that, Spider, if you have anything you'd like to add to that in terms of fleshing out the proposal, once again, I'm trying my best to be brief and get us through this before we crash, if we do.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. I'll try and be brief as well. So the approach that we want to take and what we bring to the party is really focusing a lot on community engagement, because that's been an issue around TIF. And so we've sort of taken a two-prong approach, which was one, really doing a deep dive inside with staff and you, the board, and talking to city council and sort of saying, hey, what do people need to communicate? What do you think you need? But then also looking at the other side of that and talking to the community and how do you feel about TIF right now? You know, what kinds of things do you need? Are there opportunities for you to co-create some things with us? How do we have participation, much like the downtown master plan, where, you know, we're going out into the community and saying, hey, this is your process too, and how do we come up with a way of talking to each other that everybody feels good about? So that's the very short answer, but I'm really happy to answer questions.
Okay, Ginny, you had a comment?
I don't have a lot to add to that. I think Ellen expressed it very well. I would very much encourage you to embark on this communications enterprise. It fits in with what we've been trying to do at the city very concertedly, I would say, within the past year, to professionalize our communications and to realize that we need outside help. Much the same way that we go to engineering firms and planning firms like Dover Cole. We can't do everything. We've been talking about this seriously now for almost a year, and I think it's time to start. Okay. Particularly in view of the legislative session coming up.
All right, thank you, both of you and Ellen. Melanie, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of break down the costs in this. Can you explain the interview process and why it looks like there's a discounted rate from $1,500 to $1,000 per interview, but is that a one-on-one for an hour with various community leaders, city council members? And then why does it cost that?
So the cost includes the interview, the pre-work for the questions and a report, and breaking it down and coding it and putting it into a report with excerpts from people. And it may be one-on-ones, it may be group interviews. It depends on how many we can find. Certainly we want to talk to all council members, and then they're going to have people that they want us to talk to. So there's going to be quite a few people, and we need to. I mean, part of this really developing a plan is understanding the people that we're trying to reach. So we have to do a lot of listening to understand what's going on. Does that answer your question?
It does. And Ginny, can I ask you, is this industry standard? I've never seen this cost that much before. Have you seen this in your other contracts?
No, because we are just starting to do contracts like this. Yeah. I can't actually speak to individual particulars in the plan.
I mean, I just participated in
same way I couldn't in an engineering services contract. I think we could certainly ask for more explanation of that from Spider if you like.
I just participated in the Midtown master plan process, and that was their board members did the hour interview. It seems like a very high cost, but without that being said, without knowing industry wide, if that is a typical thing. And then my other question is just the deliverables. So the plan that comes up with suggestions, it would be the MRA existing staff who would actually implement and do the tool. So social media, right? There's no actual deliverables that your firm will be the one doing Facebook posts and stuff like that.
So to go back to your first question, so it's not just an interview, that includes all the time of figuring out who we're going to interview, chasing them down, getting time set up, doing the actual interview, and then and then transcriptions, and then taking and coding so that you're like trying to find the common themes and everything, and then taking those themes and working, spelling them out in a report with anonymous excerpts from people, and then recommendations and analysis of all of that. So all of that is included in just the interview cost as part of the report. So number one. And your second question was just the deliverables. So what we'll do is we'll set up, like for social media, for example, we'll go all the way, and for the web, we'll go through, here's what we suggest, and we'll give examples. So we'll set, for example, this is Facebook, this is what it would look like. Here's a design, here's what the tone is, here's some sample posts, and sort of, and probably like, here's a sample calendar, but it doesn't include us doing the social media in perpetuity.
So I think this is Ellen. If I could tag on to what Spider said in response to the first part of your question, I think that we need someone besides staff or board necessarily. Board could do it. I don't know that you guys want to do these interviews, but I've been involved in numerous interviews with various firms, Spiders and others who've worked, and it seems like it's primarily with nonprofits who are either getting ready to embark on a capital campaign or who are trying to evaluate their role in the community and where they best fit, and is what they're doing what the community perceives as being the need in the community. And typically a facilitator or an entity like Six Pony Hitch or some of the others on the list are really, really helpful in terms of eliciting very frank, honest, candid responses, particularly from those not on the board, not on the city council, not on staff, but citizens who are interested in what we're doing and would like to know more and like to understand better. So I think it's really important for an agency like MRA to have that neutral voice out there trying to put this information together. People will respond to Spider a whole lot differently than they'll respond to Ellen Buchanan or Carl England or Nancy Moe or Mel Brock, I think.
Also, Mel, the goal of this is really to define the problem correctly. And so there's a lot of work in that, like trying to get to that, and there's a lot of digging that has to happen. So, a lot of the interviews is, having the bigger picture. It's not just going out and getting some information. It's trying to see it as a whole, and then kind of making it recursive as you learn from one person. Then you kind of say, oh, okay, and you change your questions, and you're like, okay, this theme is emerging. I want to ask more. So there's a lot more to the process than just going out with a tape recorder.
To follow up on Mel's question, Ms. McKnight, what we're used to seeing, and we do see other consulting contracts, is an hourly rate for a consultation up to a maximum that for that category. So is that what this is at the 24,000? Sorry, yeah, at the 24,000 for the interviews, is that what we're looking at there?
Yeah, so it's based on the amount of time and the number of interviews, and wanted to give you a project rate because there may be one or two extra interviews that we would put in there. But the way we figured that out was if there's 12 council people who would probably each have one or two other people we want to talk to, that seemed like the right amount of or the board, and that just seemed like a reasonable amount of people to get a wide view of what we need to get a view of.
Okay, Melanie, did you have anything else?
Well, just then asking Ellen, do you foresee being able to take this and implementing it with the staff in-house? Like, does it make more sense to be hiring another communications officer? I'm just wondering, when you put money towards a plan and a tool, it's the next step is who is going to implement that in-house? You know, so I'm wondering, is there going to be another proposal in a few months to say we need another half-time staffer to help with comms? Is this something that Ginny's team over in City Hall does? I'm sorry, I wasn't at last month's meeting, and maybe you covered these things, but I'm just not, I don't feel like I still see the full picture of this.
No, we didn't really cover this in depth at the last meeting, maybe not at all. I don't remember. We've discussed this internally as staff. We think we have some capacity on staff to do this. I think a lot of it is going to be dictated by what this communications plan requires, and we may well have staff capacity to take care of all or most of it. I think we've got to see the plan, and then we will discuss it with the board. And if we think we need additional capacity to do that, then we'll talk about that, and we'll try to figure out what that looks like. I personally do not see that MRA is in a position of needing a full-time communications person. Now, there may be other people that disagree with that, and this communications plan may prove me completely wrong. I don't believe we need another FTE in this office right now. But I'm certainly open to that, should that be what the plan recommends.
Okay. Tasha?
Oh, sorry.
Melanie, did you have more? I'm sorry. No. Tasha, I can't see you, so I'll just ask if do you have questions about this proposal? I see.
Yeah, no, I think that from my perspective, the interview process will be helpful. I mean, we need to have our consultants have a deep understanding of what concerns exist out there and how the MRA operates. And so I see the interview process as being necessary so that they understand the problems, so that they can work on the solutions and education and outreach as MRA works on better communication going forward.
I just wanted to add that, and Mel, this might go to your point a little bit. This isn't just doing the interviews to figure out like we need a billboard. Like that's not what we're after. Some of them will be informational and educational materials. I look at it as like, what are some information or educational things we can put together? What would those be? What do people need? But what's the deeper problem? So there's already ways for the community to participate with MRA, but maybe they don't know about it. So that's another thing I really want to get into. Like, how come those avenues aren't being utilized, or people feel like they can't utilize them? I need to figure that out. And then the third thing is there's a lot of frustration in the community, and there's a lot of, really horrible things being bannered around, like cronyism and things that you guys have heard about. So what are our opportunities to engage the community and find, ongoing engagement, right? So it might be like, maybe a community has an idea of how they want to participate that isn't already available. So I want to bring those to the table too, and make this really, once and for all, hey, community, you're all riled up. What's going on? Let's figure this out, and let's figure out how we can work together, and we can all be like excited about this really great tool that you guys have.
Okay. But could you elaborate a bit on how discovery is different from interviews?
So yeah, one is kind of internal and one is external. So discovery is really talking to staff and to the board and understanding like how you see the problem and the materials you wish you had, but also doing a lot of research about communities around the country who have been in similar situations and what they're doing and what their models are, both for communication and for engagement. So are there other communities that have faced similar problems where people were upset and had misinformation about TIF. And what did they do about it? And it might be me, reading about that and finding, articles and that way, or it might be me calling them up and having a long conversation and saying, hey, what was going on and what did you do and what were some of the things that worked and some of the things that didn't. So that's that part of it.
Tasha, did you get your questions? Did you have more?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. In looking at the other part of this, there is the contract, what our attorneys make us say, which is actually a contract. And did Jim Nugent review this, Ellen?
He has not. He will review any contract that evolves out of this if you approve us to move forward.
So before signing up for this proposal, he will review the contract?
Yes, he will. And the contract will have to take the form that's acceptable to the city. And I don't know that this form will be acceptable to the city. I view this as a proposal.
Right, because there are a number of items in here that need Jim Nugent's review. For instance, confidentiality. We are a public body and our proceedings are not confidential.
Right, and all of that will be covered in whatever contract form this takes if the board approves it.
Right, there's also a section called rights saying that we as an agency are responsible for ensuring various items, and some of those items look to me to be the responsibility of Six Pony Hitch, but I'm not paid for reviewing the contract. And so we have Jim Nugent review it so that it conforms with how the Missoula Redevelopment Agency actually operates as a public body.
Right, and I suspect, and Spider can speak to this, but I suspect that that section is tailored to both private sector contracts as much, and if not more so, than public sector contracts. And every contract is a negotiation once Mr. Nugent gets involved.
Yeah.
Because he's got the things we have to say and can't say.
Right, okay. I do have a comment on, for instance, the city project that is under the tab Engage Missoula. So I was curious about the Scott Street project, and I would hope that the product that is produced for MRA would be an improvement on that, because the initial website and the specific Scott Street project does not have a continuity of what it's supposed to be presenting what's happening with that proposal, but it does not have a continuity of what's been reported in the press without a person subscribing to the project. So it's not as user-friendly, or it doesn't reveal as much information, is not as educational on the initial screens as it could be without becoming a subscriber to the process. So I would just make that comment, and also comment that that project proposal web also does not, on its face, it was not updated in a timely manner. So it doesn't show that the process where MRA actually approved the proposal. It didn't show initially, it doesn't show when City Council looked at it. And then it took days, actually a couple of weeks before it was updated to say that the City Council actually approved the project. So that would be something that would not be, Jenny, sorry about that, but that's something that I don't know who set that up, if that was that's on the city's website. It wasn't as engaging as it could have been. So is there further discussion with board members? Further questions? Is there a motion?
This is Tasha. I'll move that the process move forward. I apologize, do not have the language of any proposed motion available to me.
The proposed motion is that MRA board approve the award of a contract to Six Pony Hitch to develop a communications plan as described in their proposal dated August 19, 2020, in an amount not to exceed $46,500, and authorize the MRA board chair to sign the contract documents.
Yes, that is my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there further discussion? I'll just comment that I will vote in favor of this motion. I think we need to get started on this, and we need to get focus on this public education part, and I'm in favor of that. Because we have public comment now, we have our public comment numbers up, and I'll just remind the public that we're waiting for calls in. The calls will be answered in the order received, and our meeting moderator will let the caller know when the caller joins the meeting, and then would the caller please give us name, address, and make their comments on this motion. So we'll wait to see if there are calls coming in, with the understanding that David Erickson may be there, and if he wants to comment, he should let us know.
Nancy has a timer for a couple more minutes, but David's no longer on the call either, so he's probably watching via Zoom.
Okay. So Jill, would you please tell me when we've waited long enough?
Sure.
Thank you.
Jill, just so you know, you're echoing a bit, maybe a large bit.
I think it's because I'm in chambers and I have to turn this microphone on in order to be heard on the webcast. So my apologies.
No, it's much better.
One minute remaining.
Come on, Jill.
That was 3 minutes, Nancy.
All right, hearing there being no public comment, all those in favor of the motion before the board, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That was Tasha, I think. Melanie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The motion passes. Thank you, Spider and Six Hitch. I'm looking forward to seeing what's produced here, and actually looking forward to us having a plan on how we're going to get our information out. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the West Broadway Master Plan. And Ellen, that's yours. And I see we have two folks from Dover Cole here. When you give your presentation, Ellen, would you please remind us, is there a termination deadline for the opportunity zone? And what is the term for the Urban Renewal District. Thank you.
I can do one of those and not be so good at the other one. As you know, when we bought the Sleepy Inn property at the corner of Broadway and Russell Street, we bought that property for a short-term purpose, which was to provide a non-congregate shelter for folks who don't have a place to shelter safely. Should they be exposed to COVID? Should they be waiting for test results? Should they be symptomatic? Should they have been diagnosed with COVID? This motel created the opportunity to provide that non-congregate shelter, which is being operated by a combination of city county, with the county at the lead, with the emergency services, emergency response people. And it's served its purpose well. We've had people in there consistently, as far as I know, since we got some of the rooms ready. It's been kind of a process of getting a few rooms and doing some more as time allows. The funding for operating that shelter and for modifying it to accept the non-congregate folks that need a place to stay will all be reimbursed, as far as we know, through FEMA, through the funding that's been made available to cities for responding to this virus. But when we bought it, we knew that we took the long view, and we knew that for a long time we've been looking at properties, particularly in the West Broadway area, that might be number one, prime for redevelopment, that could take advantage of the fact that there are a few years left in the Urban Renewal District, and there is TIF funding available that can assist with this. We obviously have a huge need for housing that is available to and accessible by some of our lower income folks in the community, as well as housing for everybody at this point. Our housing situation grows more dire, I think, weekly, as folks have decided to move in here from other parts of the United States. So the long view was that we would have a piece of property that we could certainly look at facilitating the redevelopment of. Couple that with, kind of serendipitously, the Scott Street property, which you referenced a few minutes ago, Nancy, became available. Well, it's been available, but we were able to see a way clear to be able to purchase that property, which is now a done deal. The city owns 19 acres there, a little over 9 of which will be used to reconfigure and consolidate our public works operations up off of Scott Street, which will then allow Missoula Water, which we acquired several years ago, which will then allow Missoula Water to look at vacating a very valuable piece of real estate on West Broadway, and a very large piece of real estate, I might add, on West Broadway, just down the street from Sleepy Inn, and consolidate their operations up off of Scott Street on this newly reconfigured public works complex, which the Scott Street property purchase allows to have happen, along with a number of other things that creates the ability to have us look at. So I am now going to try to share my screen, and we'll see how this works. It says it will stop another's screen sharing. Do I want to continue? Jill.
Yes.
So can you see my graphic?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh.
Or at least I can see it.
All right. So this is the area that we're looking at. What we kind of decided is that if we're going to look at the Sleepy Inn property, we really ought to look at a larger area, because there are a number of properties in that area that are either on the market currently, or certainly soft and could be purchased by private developers and or by the city. We have the Missoula water opportunity, and if you'll look at that, you not only have the Missoula water building, if you can see my cursor, but they also own all of this staging area back here along the alley, where their trucks and equipment and generators and all of those things are currently located. So I think it's in the neighborhood of about 2 acres there. Sleepy Inn is 5 point something acres. I don't remember now. MDT had to purchase an entire parcel that used to be an old gas station in order to get adequate right of way for the Russell Street Bridge project and the Russell Street project. So they have excess right of way there that they have no need for, that the city could probably consolidate with the motel property. We know that the large building that used to house Adam and Eve, for lack of anything else I can remember, has been on the market for quite some time. Properties on either side of Missoula Water are certainly able to be purchased. Their owners are willing sellers at this point. And the downtown master plan, which Dover Cole did, went all the way to Russell Street. Paid some attention to the West Broadway area, but a lot has changed since that plan was done. City now controls both the Sleepy Inn and Missoula Water, with Missoula Water being in a position in a few years to relocate out of that area. So it only made sense to look at California Street to Russell, Broadway to the river. We know that we're going to need a fairly robust public process around this. We have there was a lot of, I'll say, angst among property and business owners on West Broadway, both north and south side of the street, about what the ultimate plans were for the Sleepy Inn property when we purchased it for the shelter. There were rumors on Broadway that this was going to be another permanent homeless shelter, which was anything but the truth. But those rumors were certainly out there, and I, along with others, got numerous phone calls relative to that. We also have a very engaged neighborhood with the West Side neighborhood that has concerns about what's going to happen on Broadway. They've seen some impacts from the Poverello Center having been built on West Broadway. And I think they have a keen interest in, number one, finding ways to house some of our less fortunate population that right now can't find adequate housing in Missoula, but they work in Missoula, they provide services here. And I'm not talking about homeless people necessarily, but lower income folks. This property is in, as Nancy mentioned, an opportunity zone, in addition to being in an urban renewal district. And those two tools are powerful tools to entice private development, because there are, number one, incentives through the use of TIF funding, and there are tax advantages through the use of the opportunity zone. Nancy, I can't answer your question about how long the opportunity zone will last. It's kind of been an evolving thing with a series of tranches of regulations that have come forward, and MEP has been keeping up with that, but it still is certainly viable and will be viable for the foreseeable future. The way I understand it, the advantages diminish with time. With respect to the urban renewal district, this district will sunset in 2031. So we've got, clocks ticking. We have limited amount of time left in urban renewal district 2, which is one of the reasons to go ahead and get this process started, even though we don't know how much longer COVID is going to be an issue in the world, the United States, in Missoula County. So we don't know how much longer that motel is going to be needed for the purpose that it's serving right now. But if we know where we want to go, once that need no longer exists, we will have done the public input process. We will have gone through a planning process that gives us a roadmap to begin to start talking to investors and developers who might want to invest in this area. We have a contract with Dover Coal to do the downtown master plan. That has obviously been completed. Plan's been adopted as part of the city's growth policy. We amended that plan to do the North Riverside Parks and Trails plan, which basically looked at the parks from Lions Park and off of California Street all the way down to Kiwanis Park, with a real emphasis by Dover Coal on the Caras Park, East Caras Park area. That plan is nearing adoption, as I understand it, and we have agreed to amend. We have amended, I guess, the plan, the master planning effort for the Payne/library block. Amended the downtown master plan contract to allow Dover Coal, or to engage Dover Coal to do a planning process about what the city does with that entire block in the middle of downtown. And I will say, just as an aside, we've kind of put that on hold for a bit. That we've got a Big Sky Trust Fund planning grant that has some time constraints associated with it, and we will honor that. But it seemed apparent that we really need to understand what post-COVID America looks like to the degree that we can before we decide what the highest and best uses are for that really important block right in the middle of downtown. There are some things that have been suggested that we think will come out of the public planning process that may look very different post-COVID than they looked pre-COVID. So are they appropriate uses for that location? Would have been 9 months ago, maybe not so much 6 months from now. So that's kind of sitting there. We're not going to start that process right this minute around the library/Payne block, but we would like to move forward with the planning process around the West Broadway property from Russell to California. We had 2 proposals from Dover Coal to do that at my request. One had more public involvement than the other. The less expensive one really built on the process that we went through doing the downtown master plan. After kind of looking through those 2 proposals and really giving it a lot of thought, I think we need to do the more engaged process for the reasons that I stated at the beginning of this report. The neighborhood and the property and business owners on Broadway need that kind of public engagement. And things have changed since the downtown master plan was done. They've changed substantially out there in terms of who owns what and properties moving around. So the staff recommendation is that the board approve entering into a contract which will amend the downtown, or recommend to the BID that they amend the downtown master plan contract to encompass this area, with funding coming solely from the Missoula Redevelopment Agency in an amount not to exceed $65,000. And with that, I'll be quiet, and I think Jason and Rob are here that can answer questions, or Jason, if you want to add to anything that I've said, please feel free, or Rob.
Sure. I think that was a great overview, Ellen. The only thing I would add is that the contract includes what's called a virtual charrette. So we'll engage a lot of people online in meetings with a website also, which will have polls and surveys. People are able to give input. They're able to interact with us. So it's sort of like, you were all there. You all helped on the creation of the downtown master plan. We'll do a virtual version of that with maximum public engagement. And we've had a lot of success working out west on the Mullen neighborhoods and then the Caras and the North Side parks with the virtual work. So I think we talked to a lot of people. We would put a lot of people at ease. We get a lot of people excited. A couple other things were mentioned. We'd be working with the local engineering firm. So we could create a vision to attract investors and potential developers. That vision would be based on the understanding of the site. There's some tricky parts, the infrastructure underneath the Flynn Lowry ditch, And then the other thing is, we would also be working on the land development regulations for this area. So that means, there'd be a code for this spot, which would help it. That's good for developers and investors because it means there's a path, a speedy path to approvals. And it's good for the community because there's predictability and they know what would be coming. And we understand the code really well now, working on the again on the Mullen neighborhoods, and we've come to know staff and I think there's always the problem with the out-of-town consultant, as was voiced. Wouldn't it be better just to spend this money on a staff member? And a lot of times it would be. I think this time, I think we could create a compelling, interesting vision. We could create code and land development regulations, and the thing would largely implement itself. And it would be true to the vision created by many hands working on the plan. And I think that's really all I would like to add. And yeah, I'm available for questions and to talk about the specifics of the contract.
Are there questions? Melanie, do you have questions on this?
Thanks, Nancy. I was just curious, is there any reason not to include one block north of that West Broadway? Is it just because it's all commercial and there isn't public projects and public land? Is that why it's just south of West Broadway?
A good question. West Broadway is a big divide, and the question of how the street should be divided is how the street should be designed is its own big question. However, and I'm totally up to Ellen and staff. If it's helpful to include the north side, sure. I mean, that's an area that that could use investment and designing both sides of the street so that way like faces like. As a good planning principle.
I'm happy to jump in there. I think Jason's kind of lead-in comments are the crux of that decision. Broadway is a formidable street. Broadway is also a state route. By looking at both sides of Broadway, I think it forces the issue of what do you do with Broadway? And we could spend all of our time and energy and effort on that alone. I look at the amount of energy and effort that has for the last, gosh, I don't know, 12, 15 years or longer gone into what do you do with Higgins Avenue? And Broadway's the same sort of thing, especially when you look at the downtown end of it. And we need to make some decisions about how our urban streets function because of timeframes around the length of the life of the district and timeframes around opportunity zone maximization. I don't know if we want to get into a 2-year discussion about what do you do with West Broadway as a street. I think what we decide, what's the decisions that are made on what to do on the south side of Broadway certainly will inform what happens to those commercial properties on the north side of Broadway. I personally don't think we're ready to tackle Broadway today. And I don't know how you avoid it if that study area goes up to what looks like the absolute logical spot, which is a block north of Broadway. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Melanie, any other question?
No, I'm done. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing an opportunity, but if it makes it a much more cumbersome project, then that absolutely makes sense. I'm all done. Thank you, Nancy.
Tasha? Do you have questions?
Not so much a question, but a comment. I mean, I support this proposal. I believe, and I think you would all agree, that the river is at the heart of our community. And I believe that it's in the public's best interest that there be a redevelopment of this area to maximize the public's use of the river, in addition to having a seat at the table of the redevelopment of this area that is, you know, many of these buildings are in desperate need of renovation, upgrade, and redevelopment. And so I like this proposal also because it can lead to redevelopment in a way that maximizes the public's use of the continuation of the river trail. It can improve access and safety to the public recreation area on the island that we have discussed in other proposals. And it can allow us to be prepared to assist private investors and partners when the opportunity presents itself for redevelopment in this area, given its location in an opportunity zone. So I very much support this proposal.
Great. Any other questions? Let me ask whoever would feel comfortable replying to this, what effect the COVID issue, the COVID pandemic has on the proposal. Is that something that is taken into consideration in the planning? Or I guess it's not only, what I'm thinking of is, does the proposal consider the recovery time that the community takes to actually implement the proposal, so that if that is 4 years or 5 years, will the planning take that into consideration?
That's a really good question. A lot of times our work is focused on what, you know, should happen. The time it takes is always a harder question. The proposal takes into consideration COVID in terms of a virtual charrette, you know, but I like that. We could add, I like the idea of maximizing the public's use of rivers and trails as a major goal. And I like the idea of adding, take into consideration recovery time to implement the plan. And also, what are some strategies to reduce that lapse, that potential stall? That's an interesting question.
Well, if I mean, Dale and I had this conversation just last week about, you know, what happens if we go through this process and we have somebody come in who is ready to move tomorrow to redevelop that corner where the Sleepy Inn is. Are there options that allow us to relocate the current use that's there to another location in order to facilitate being able to take advantage of an opportunity that's here today and might not be here 2 years from now? And I think there are. And I think that our folks who are in charge of the COVID operation are thinking about those things all the time. So I think there are two questions here. How long does COVID tie up that particular piece of property? The other question is, once again, like the Payne block, but to a lesser degree, like the Payne block, how does post-COVID world change in terms of how this area might redevelop? And I don't think anybody's got a crystal ball that's going to tell us that.
Okay. Dale, if you're still with us, do you have a comment on this? Maybe Dale.
Yeah, I do. I guess back to Mel's comment on Broadway and you know, discussion of the street. I would say that one other piece of information is that the city is engaged in its long-range transportation plan update now. And that's the process that really sets our federal funding priorities, which this is an eligible state route. So that, you know, so those type of things are going to be considered related to that process. We should make sure we have a connection between this planning process and the LRTP update. But I think that's where most of that work really would go about how we are going to, what West Broadway looks like in the future. And I guess the other with the revisions of Russell Street there, this is really a really nice gateway to the to essentially it becomes a new gateway to downtown, and I think that's part of the important aspects of this.
Okay. For the Dover coal people, what is the time period for this project?
We're able to start immediately. I think the contract talks about a charrette, a public event happening in a couple months, really whenever you're comfortable. And then projects like this usually go about 6 months to 8 months before we've got a fully vetted plan, code, and consensus. So yeah, I'd say about 6 to 8 months.
Okay, as with other projects, I would expect that there will be a calendar that will be given to us to keep us up to date.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. Are there other questions, further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Do you have that, Melanie?
Yep. I'll move the staff recommendation that the MRA board approve the contract with Dover Coal and Partners to conduct a public input process and create a West Broadway master plan for the area bounded by Broadway, California Street, Russell Street, and Clark Fork River for a fee amount not to exceed $65,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the contract documents.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Then is there other comment from the folks participating in the Zoom meeting? Then we're again.
Ellie, can you stop sharing your screen and I'll put up the numbers, please?
I was so happy getting it up there. I really didn't want to stop, but there you go.
Then we'll begin the time period for public comment on the motion, and Jill will put the numbers up on the screen. Calls will be answered in the order received, and if someone calls in, then we'll ask for their name, address, and their comments. So we'll start our waiting period. Jill, do we have to wait 3 minutes, or was the waiting period a shorter period of time?
I think a minute has been kind of standard for council.
My notes indicate 3 minutes because there's a 50-second delay on the webcast.
So we're waiting 3 minutes?
3 minutes since I put the numbers up. I have the timer set.
Okay. If that's what we've been doing, we may as well continue.
Well, if the board has questions about anything else that in the meantime, I would imagine we can take advantage of this space in time.
Well,
is that kosher, Jill?
Hold on 1 second. I'm having some audio issues here. And can you see the numbers?
No.
Okay, let me try to get to the bottom of this. I can see them on my screen, but they're not popping up on the Zoom feed. Hold on.
And I just got a text message from Todd that his laptop just went into the blue screen of death.
Okay.
So we may have him on audio for his agenda item.
Well, I can read a couple of the numbers so that we can still use let our 3-number period go. One of the numbers is 1-253-215-8782. Another number is 1-888-475-4499. And the meeting ID is 960-049-3694. So if someone is listening and wants to call in, they can call any of those numbers and we will be receptive to hear the comments.
Their numbers are up.
Numbers are up now. Good.
I do have one caller in the waiting room.
All right.
Caller with last 4 digits 4387. That's 4387. I'll admit.
Okay, so if the caller with the last 4 digits of 4387, would you please identify yourself, give your name and address, and tell us what your comments are on this proposal for the West Broadway Master Plan.
Caller 4387, you're on the line. Do you want to please identify yourself for the record?
I think it's Todd.
Yeah.
That's me, Jill.
Oh,
529-4387.
oh. All right.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Our 3 minutes is still running.
We'll give it another minute since the numbers were not up on your end.
Okay.
That was another minute.
Okay. All right. No public comments. We'll have a vote on the motion on the West Broadway Master Plan. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. We look forward to the proposal from Dover Cole. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Jason and Rob.
Thank
Yes.
you. We're excited. Thank you.
Good. The next item on our next action item is the MRA fiscal year 21 budget. And Jill had an email this morning with some comments on some of the taxable values. And the budget now does show some payoffs in fiscal year, or actually it doesn't show them because apparently there were payoffs in fiscal year 20. In ERD 2 and 3, so they're not included in the budget anymore. And there's a significant decrease in tax increment financing in the Riverfront district. So anyway, Jill, if you want to comment on your email and on the taxable values and other items in your budget, please. In our budget, please. Thank you.
So this iteration of our preliminary budget includes the updated taxable values that we received on August 3rd from the Department of Revenue. And it also includes the changes that we incorporated with the board's approval of the purchase of the Scott Street property and the bonds that we sold to pay for those. When we received the taxable values from the Department of Revenue, we plugged them into our spreadsheet and did a comparison. And so if you look at the memo that I attached to the front of the budget document, there's a comparison there. Nancy spoke to that. We're seeing a decrease in most of those districts, most of those taxing jurisdictions. We saw, although in the memo, you'll see in the Front Street district, we're showing a variance of taxable value between last year and this year of 13,747. There were actually additional appeals that came in and that were not completed. That process had not been completed by the time they certified the values for this year. And so we actually do have additional appeals in the Front Street district, and we'll actually see a loss of taxable value in that district. In my email, which I don't have in front of me, which I don't think I can get into from this computer, but essentially the staff met with DOR staff for an hour and discussed some things that are going on, and there were a lot of appeals. And so that really explains most of the loss that we're seeing in the districts. And I included some other, we essentially assessed was generally up, but I think there was one particular district that it was down. And like I said, I sent that information to the board and staff for review. I'm happy to answer any questions. There were some specifics that were given in the email, but Otherwise, I'm happy to go through the budget document itself too, if you want to look more specifically.
Okay. Any questions for Jill on the preliminary budget revised? Not hearing any questions. Jill, I had just one. When the mill levy is applied to the taxable value, is there any factor, reasonable factor, that considers the possible decline in collections other than appeals? Because of the COVID and the decrease in income, is there any factor there?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if the taxing jurisdictions consider that when they set their mill levies.
Sounds like a Dale question to me.
Yeah, if Dale's still on. Looks like he is.
Hello, Dale Bickle. So I am also not aware of a slowdown in collections related to this. I think a lot of it is that, for the May property tax receipts, most people had those already escrowed, and I think so there's a lot of ability to pay. What I know is statewide, there has been a very slight increase in uncollectibles, but everybody's watching the November collections very closely to see if that is going to be an impact, because that would be post escrows and those types of things happening. But we haven't had any alerts to that in Missoula County yet.
Okay, so we'll have to be cognizant of that as we go through the year as to the actual money that's available. Are there other questions about the preliminary budget? Then is there a motion for approval?
I will move to approve, I'm looking for it, to approve the preliminary revised budget. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Approval of the MRA fiscal year 21 preliminary budget dated 8/2020.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Jill, would you start our 3-minute timer for calling in for public comments on this, please? Thank you.
Numbers should be it.
Numbers are up.
I've got the timer going, and I thought I heard somebody join the meeting. But I think it's Todd.
Jill, this is Leslie. It is Todd. I just let him in.
Okay, thanks. While we're waiting for the timer on the public comment, I did want to just remind the board that we still are wrapping up our fiscal year 20, and there still are a lot of journal vouchers that need to be done, and the final tax receipts that we receive in July, and then we receive in mid-August the tax receipts for July. Because MRA is on a modified accrual basis, we accrue those taxes back to the prior fiscal year. So there are a lot of transactions that are still kind of hanging out there that we need to wrap up. So you'll see 1 or 2 iterations of our budget before we get to a final one in October.
Thank you.
Nancy, that was 3 minutes, and I don't have anybody in the waiting room.
Thank you. All right, for the motion on to approve the fiscal year 21 preliminary budget, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hearing two, did I miss somebody?
Aye, sorry.
Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you. Todd is up next with yet another sidewalk project. We have considered these, I don't know, we've looked at some of this area before. So Todd, please go ahead with your report.
Okay, thanks. Let me share my screen here. Can everybody see the map exhibit?
I can.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird. I just got booted out of the meeting here a couple minutes ago, but I seem to be back up and running here just after getting a blue screen of death on my laptop. So looks like we're running again. Yes, so actually I made a brief mention of this project, or this project was included last month in the CIP report that I gave to the board, and I mentioned to the board that we would be coming back with a request for authorization to issue a request for proposals for this Inez 1st and 2nd Street sidewalk project. This is the next phase in sidewalk construction related to the ERD2 sidewalk program. And since we began work under the sidewalk program back in 2009, MRA's constructed over 4 miles of sidewalk and invested about $3.5 million through the sidewalk program in URD2. And we're on track to complete the sidewalk network in the district within the next 8 years. And that is kind of our overarching goal, is to complete the sidewalk network in ERD2 prior to sunset of the district. And some of the other things we accomplished through the sidewalk program, I identify in my staff report to the board, such as reducing a blighting condition as defined by state urban renewal law, providing basic public safety infrastructure, particularly along school routes for school kids, and connecting neighborhoods to neighborhoods and connecting neighborhoods to commercial areas, and helping support a healthy, active transportation within the URDs. So the Inez 1st and 2nd sidewalk project essentially involves building out the missing sidewalk lengths that are identified on the blue lines on the attached map exhibit. And those are generally 2nd Street between California Street and Russell, 1st Street between California Street and Russell, and then Inez between 1st and 2nd, and then this outlier over here near the railroad tracks, which was originally in the project area for year 2 sidewalk project that we just completed this year. We pulled that out of the sidewalk project. That area is the property owners to the north and south of that street petitioned the city for a street vacation, and that process is taking longer than what the timeline was for the sidewalk project for this year. So we pulled that out of this year's project, and I've included it in the next year's project, the Inez 1st and 2nd Street. And if the timelines line up, we'll complete that next year. If not, I guess we'll put it in a future phase, but we intend to come back and finish up this piece of sidewalk work here, which we will try to make a trail connection to the Bitterroot Trail through here, if that is something that the city determines that it would like to have. So the sidewalk project over here in the south central part of the district is generally characterized as single family and multi-family residential, and I think the completion of this phase of the sidewalk project, in addition to future phases to the north, will help create pedestrian connections to the downtown via the Milwaukee Trail, and it'll also provide pedestrian connections to the commercial and professional services along the Russell Street corridor. So the staff recommendation is that the board move to authorize staff to issue a request for proposals from engineering firms for design, engineering, and contract administration services for the ERD2 Inez First and Second Street sidewalk project. And this will be with the understanding that staff will later present a professional services agreement and related budget to the board for consideration. That completes my staff report. Be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
So, so the sidewalk includes both the red and the blue, blue designations on the map?
The blue designations on the map are what the sidewalk project is. That is the Inez First and Second sidewalk project for next year. The red lines are missing segments, and those will be future phases of the sidewalk work. Essentially, the red lines are what remain to be completed in the district.
All right, so this is only the blue lines.
Only the blue lines, correct.
All right, thank you. Are there other questions for Todd? Hearing no questions. Jill, if you would put the numbers up. We'll have our 3-minute period before we vote on the motion. So we'll wait 3 minutes for the, see if there's any public comment.
I don't think we moved yet. Do you want me to move?
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, yes.
I just brought it up. I move the board authorize, the board moved to, I move we approve the request, the request for proposals from engineering firms to design, engineering, and contract administration services for the ERD2 Inez First and Second sidewalk project with the understanding that staff will later present a professional services agreement and related budget to the board for consideration.
Thank you, Mel. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. And then we have our time period to wait for public comment. Is there further discussion by board members?
Did I say that street right? Just out of curiosity, Inez? How do you say that?
Yes.
Inez.
One thing while we're waiting for the 3 minutes to run, one of the things we've discussed internally, and I can do this now, or we can do it under director's report, but is whether or not once you've approved an item as a CIP item, is it necessary to come back to the board to ask for authorization to issue a request for proposals for design of that project? It seems like almost a redundant step. Obviously, we have to bring back a proposal to you from an engineering firm with a scope of services and a cost and all of that. But do you really want to, do you feel the need to continue to have you approve it as a project in the CIP, come back to you and say, authorize us to issue an RFP, and then come back to you again and say, here's the response to the RFP, it's going to cost X dollars, authorize us to enter into a contract? So something to be thinking about. It doesn't seem to me to serve a lot of purpose. You've basically said, go out and get it designed once you've approved the CIP.
Other comment from Mel or Tasha?
This is Tasha. I agree that seems to be an unnecessary step in the process. The decision points are two. One, we put it on the budget and we approve that. And then the second decision for us is after you've gone through the RFP process, do we approve of the contract going forward? So I guess to me, I agree with you, Helen. It seems like a redundancy that would not be necessary.
Any thoughts, Mel?
I concur. It doesn't seem necessary to come back again. We love Todd's sidewalk projects. Approval once, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do the neighborhoods.
Yeah, we hear so much positive feedback from the neighborhoods that putting in needed infrastructure, that this is such a great program.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I think this falls under the category that we all love so much of, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Right.
Nancy, the 3 minutes is up and I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
All right, we have a motion that's been seconded on the ERD2 Inez first and second sidewalk project. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have no non-action items and staff reports. We have a brief director's report. Ellen, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so. I think, I was going to bring up this notion of, do we need an interim authorization for RFP, but I think we got direction from the board on that. Would point out that I did authorize an expenditure on the Sleepy Inn to get rid of that horrible construction fencing that was in front of it on Broadway, and we now have a much, much more aesthetically pleasing frontage on Broadway. It cost $2,650 for the fence, and I did that under my spending authority, since it was less than $5,000. And I think, just to answer questions, if anybody has any about these or other things that you might be interested in.
All right. Are there any questions for Ellen? Mel?
I was just wondering our meeting schedule. What are we looking at for September? Do we think we'll get back to our third Thursday? We'll be switching to Monday.
Thank you. That was on my list that didn't get written down, so of course I didn't remember it. As far as I know, all of the equipment that was required to transition our conference room into a Zoom room, if you will, was supposed to have arrived on Thursday of last week. I have not seen a schedule for installation. My hope is that September meeting will be on the normal meeting date of the 20th, which is the third Thursday, and will be orchestrated out of our conference room as opposed to the city council chambers. And we will be able to take public comment and do all the same things that we can do theoretically right now. So we will keep you posted. I have not heard an installation schedule yet from IT, but we have asked for one.
Okay. Other questions for Ellen? Nothing else on the director's report then. For budget reports, Jill, did you have any comment?
Just that I was working on budget updates last week, so I haven't had a chance to update the rainbow reports, but I will work on those this week and then attach them. So they will be accessible through the website. And I can also send them out.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jill? On the activity reports, thank you for the staff activity reports. Does anyone have questions on those? I just have one question for Annette. I realize this covers 3 months, but what is the issue with the MRL park that is taking time?
Thanks, Nancy. That is, and I thought I had started my video here. The surface of the multi-use playing court, there was a little ridge, and that was affecting the play of the court. And in addition to that, the line striping on the court was striped as 4-inch wide lines rather than 2-inch wide lines. 2-inch wide lines are what's standard for pickleball play. So those two items were determined to be, this all came about because the pickleball players were not using the court, and the Parks Department went to the community and asked why. And so we've been working with the contractor and the landscape architect to resolve those items. The striping even if there had not been a ridge on the court, and it's just a small ridge, but it, you know, when you're out in play, it does, all things add up. It would have had to sandblast off the lines in order to get smaller lines in there. Otherwise, there'd be distractions. So we are working, it's a warranty item with the contract from the landscape architect. We are on the docket in, I think it's October, with a concrete finishing company to come in, and essentially they'll be blasted like a grit sandblast sort of operation that will take off the original striping surface and knock down that little ridge and then restripe, and then the project will be finished.
Okay, there's no action required by the board, and there's not any anticipated. Okay.
No. This is a warranty item, so we're not anticipating that there's any cost to MRA. We do have, there is still a little bit of money left in our budget if we needed to tap into that, but we're not expecting that.
All right, thank you.
And there were a couple of other things that Parks had concerns about that have taken time, particularly on Annette's part, that resolved themselves, let's say.
Yeah, there were a few other items that had sort of come up toward, so warranty period ended at, I think it was at the end of June or the end of July this year. And so there were a few other small items that we worked through with, that the Parks Department brought up, and we worked through with the contractor. And so it's those all, no expense from MRA at this point. And the court surface is the last remaining piece. And again, as I said, it's under a warranty item.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from board members on staff activity reports? There are no committee reports. Are there any other items to come before the meeting? Hearing none.
We need to go back and resolve the, did we? Oh, we finalized everything, didn't we? We got through our 3 minutes. Sorry.
Right.
I thought we were taking up time.
No. Jill said we satisfied the 3 minutes. Okay.
My apologies.
That's all right. Anything else to come before the meeting? Then the meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time. Stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.